it's Doris with All the Books, and I am here to talk about the BookTube prize. I was a judge for Group A, and spoiler alert, I didn't like 4 of them, so you're not going to get the typical Pollyanna video from me. Yeah, so I ranked them. I did. The first and the second were easy, and the 6th one was easy, but 3, 4, and 5 were kind of a tie, and I had to break that tie mentally. I'll get to that. I had intended to start at number 6 and go to number 1. I thought that would be super cute and what people would expect, but when I got to the second half of my reading, I realized that would not be the most effective. So I'm just going to tell you about these books in the order in which I read them. And I do not have all of the books, so I am going to stop in between each book and show you the book cover and give myself some mental room to regroup, because I think, you know, if you're talking nice things, it's okay to run your mouth, but if you're saying not so nice things, you should think before you speak. Anyway, let's just cut to the chase here, because this is going to be long enough without me rambling. If you are not aware of the BookTube prize and how that works, I will link Robert's video below so that you can check that out. And thank you so much, Robert, for organizing this super awesome event. So here we go. Number 1, but not number 1. Okay, so the first book that I want to talk about is Melmoth by Sarah Perry. This was the only one on the list that I had read prior to beginning my judging process. I read it last year and I love it, but I will give you the disclaimer that I love a well-turned phrase. I love literary fiction that is beautiful on a sentence level, and I really get off on thematic writing. That is my thing. So this book is really fine-tuned to me. So I understand when people don't like it as much because the story arc does suffer. It's more of that popular thing these days with short stories mushed together to make a novel. So it is based on Melmoth the Wanderer, who, you can Google it, but it is another book written back, you know, long time ago, about this being that wandered the earth. It was cursed to wander the earth. And Sarah Perry takes that concept of this wanderer that's cursed to walk the earth for eternity, and she's a witness. She's a witness to the horrible nature of humanity, and she looks at what we're doing to ourselves and what seeing this actually does to us, like what witnessing the horrible nature of mankind does to us as individuals. I thought that if this was a short story collection, it would have been pretty stellar in my opinion, but it was a novel and it suffered for that, but I just loved it. I'm sorry. So I ranked that one as number 2 on my list. Yes. Okay, so I only owned 1 more of the 6 books. So I right away went online to my public library and Scribd, of which I'm a member, to see what was available, because the other 4 books, I wasn't sure that I wanted to own them. So I found all 4 at my public library. Milkman and A Ladder to the Sky had really long wait lists, so I immediately got on the wait list, and the other 2, Incendies and White Houses were readily available. So while I was waiting for the two big guys, because I figured those were the ones that not only would I have to wait the longest, but they would take the longest to read, I went ahead and jumped on White Houses, a short book, easy read. I didn't like the writing style. I just thought it was pretty basic. Nothing there that intrigued me. But more than that, I didn't like her focus. I thought it was an excellent topic. It's looking at the romantic and sexual relationship between Eleanor Roosevelt and Mrs. Hickok. I don't remember her first name at the moment. It's looking at historical documents and reading into those and creating this story. So it was a really cool concept. I do, disclaimer, struggle with those types of historical fictions. For some reason, I really enjoy historical fiction about real characters if they're old, like Henry VIII. But in the modern era, I struggle more with that being fictionalized. For whatever reason, I don't know. But that wasn't the problem for me with this book. The problem for me was her focus on the story. She grabs just all the titillating aspects of it, you know, which are fun. It's fun to be titillated. So she focuses on Roosevelt's wandering eye and how he loved to have the young ladies surrounding him at all times, and his relationship with his personal secretary and his lack of empathy with her health crisis, Eleanor's cousin and some big scandal that he was involved in, Hickok's previous sexual relationships, and her sexual relationship with Eleanor, just all of these sensationalist issues. And she missed building up the actual relationship between the two ladies. I just don't think that she told that story very well at all. At points, it's almost like Hickok's has this hero worship mentality about Eleanor, and that wasn't cool to me either. Tell me why, you know, she had so much respect for Eleanor. I mean, build that story and show me how their relationship developed. She just dumps you in and then talks about the scandal and doesn't really show you why they're together and respect each other. I just didn't like it, the way it was thrown together. I felt like it's a very short book, and I felt like this was one book. You know, you never hear anybody say, oh, the book should have been longer, or not very often, but I felt like this book, if she'd taken the time to develop the relationship the way it would have naturally developed, instead of just dumping you into the exciting moments, it would have been a much more well-rounded story. So I rank that one number 6. Okay, then My Hold of a Ladder to the Sky came available. Now, this is one that I kept hearing people talk about how brilliant it was. I was somewhat hesitant because it's unlikable characters for the most of the story. They're all unlikable, which is fine. It was somewhat contemporary, which I don't always get along with, but I went into it with an open mind, and I just kept turning the pages. It was so engrossing. I just thought it was brilliantly told. He plays around with style, but just in a subtle way that is not overpowering and really worked. I think, I don't have the book, so I couldn't like refresh myself very easily, but like there's one section in the middle that's told in second person that's very effective. really cool. And I think the first part was third person, and then when you get to the end, it's first person, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like I remember that happening. It was really neat and effective. He also deals with physical attraction just so perfectly. He just handles it brilliantly. I think he is just the master of that aspect of a story. But yeah, I don't want to tell you anything about the story. It's about authors. And I'm sure you've heard it all already. That is one thing that frustrated me about this book, is that this is the only thing that frustrated me, actually. On the jacket, the blurb spoils like the first 200 pages for you. And everyone that you listen to review this book spoils the first 200 pages for you. But the book is so good for me. It was so good that I didn't even care that I knew what was going to happen. It was fine because I just kept turning the pages. I was engrossed. I don't know what else to say. It's just a very well told story. And that one was #1 in the batch. Okay, so now we're down to the three-way tie status. So Milkman took a really long time to come available. I was starting to get nervous. But you know, it won the Booker, and it's just on all the prize lists, and so it took a while. So meanwhile, I went ahead and read the Incendiaries, which was also short and readily available. So that one deals with college, going off to college. There is quite a bit of trauma in the family life of the female protagonist before she gets to college. So, well, I can tell you, this happens in the beginning of the book, but she and her mother are in a car accident, and she has an accident, it's her fault, and her mother is killed. So highly, highly traumatic, very difficult to process. And then she meets a guy in college that they develop a relationship, romantic relationship. They move in together eventually, and he was personal trauma in his own family, but he was very much into the evangelical movement and faith in the church, and he falls away from his faith. So this was before the book starts. So when you get to college, the girl gets involved in a cult movement, and the guy is, you know, involved with her through that, la la la. But I liked the writing style. It's a very minimalist writing style. I thought that was really interesting and well done. It's pretty much a downer throughout the whole story through to the end, which is fine. I just didn't feel like it brought much to the table. And I guess I said earlier that I'm a thematic reader, so I didn't think it brought anything new or interesting to the table. And a book that's a downer needs to bring something else for me. And I don't know, it just was kind of, that's all. Okay, if it's noisy, I'm sorry. You know, it's spring and they're mowing, but I gotta finish this. So anyway, now we come to the Milkman. It finally came available, thank goodness, from my library. So I started reading it. Let me just tell you what I liked. I liked so many things about this book. I think stream of consciousness writing is fascinating. The book is told in the mind of the main character, who is like 18, 20-year-old. I liked that it was historical fiction. It's dealing with the problem in Ireland, I think, with Protestant and Catholic. I'm not sure. That's a negative too. I'll get to that. I liked the main character. I liked who she was. I liked how she was developed. I liked some of the side characters, like the mother. I thought some of the things she said were just completely hilarious. I liked the little sisters and how that was kind of a Greek choir feel. What else? There are just a lot of things that I liked about it. But ultimately, I liked this dreamy feel that it had to it, where you knew it was historical fiction, but it had a futuristic edge as well. That was really cool. But I didn't like the fact that, well, no, this was okay. I actually didn't quite get what was going on until I read a couple reviews and made the connection with the Troubles, as they were called. I didn't even know that was a title for it, the Troubles. But I like learning new things, so that was cool. Some people would see that as a negative, in that, you know, they felt like the book should tell you enough to understand that, and I could see that being a negative. The main thing that just did this for me was, to me, it was like a 150-page novella that was expanded into a 350-page novel. She took a concept and she just pulled it out. Like 3 words would have told you, like 3 well-chosen words, and she pulled it out into, like, let's say 12 words over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So this really, really painted the character well. You knew who she was, but it made the reading of this book excruciatingly tedious. Oh my God. Seriously. So I really thought this book was cool on so many levels, but it was so darn tedious that I just couldn't stand it. So what I'm telling you is, if you are interested in reading this book, go online and read whatever preview they give you. What I'm saying is, if you don't like this book in the first 20 pages, don't read it. For the first 10 pages, don't read it, because there's not a payout at the end that's going to compensate for your dislike of the style. Okay, does that make sense? So yeah. Okay, so then the last one I read was The Immortal List, which is the other one that I owned prior to the prize starting. So The Immortal List is the one where you have these 4 kids that go see a what is the freaking word? I've just been talking too much. A fortune teller. Okay, so they go see a fortune teller, and she tells them the date, the specific date that they're each going to die. So the book is structured from there that you have 4 more sections after this prologue, and each section tells the story of a different sibling. So that's cool. I was turned off initially because the first section is the baby brother, and he well, actually, I was turned off initially because in the prologue, you're just, the opening couple pages, the oldest sister is, you know, when they're just describing her, she is just so sexualized. And I just didn't like that. Okay. Anyway, the first, that was a premonition right there, you know. So the first section is the baby brother, and he is the first to die. He dies very young, and he knows that. We all know that from the beginning of the book. But I was turned off right away in that he gets this information at 7 years old, and I work with that age group. I work with kids from kindergarten through high school, so I'm pretty aware of child development. So I just had a hang up of him zeroing in on what that even meant at that age, that I'm gonna die on, you know, this date and time. That just threw me initially, but that would have been fine if, you know, it'd been elaborated. But anyway, that wasn't a deal breaker. The first section though deals with him. He leaves his mother, okay? His mother has just lost her husband, and the older two kids are off at college. The third daughter is leaving home. We've always known, but this boy is a mama's boy, and he leaves his mother and goes to San Francisco with his sister. And I get that he was supposed to be traumatized by knowing when he was going to die, and like how would he live his life knowing that he's going to die. But I'm just not cool with leaving your mama like that. And like I said, I wasn't buying the trauma based on the age that he learned this fact. And his chapter is dealing with the AIDS epidemic, which was interesting, but it was really sexually graphic for me. So I just didn't gel with that section at all. The next section, the next sister, is into being a magician. And this is all me, guys, but I find magicians so freaking boring. I totally do. So, guy, I'm trying to think. Here's my cat. I'm sorry. I'm losing it. So yeah, magicians. So this was a snoozer for me. And again, I understand that she was trying to show how you would think if you knew you were gonna die, but I'm just not buying the way that's driving this story. It just wasn't gelling for me. And then the third section, you had this FBI investigation into the fortune teller from, you know, 20 years back, and I just wasn't buying that storyline at all. That just seemed really wackadoo to me, and the guy loses his mind over it, and I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. So by the time we got to the fourth sibling, I just didn't really care anymore. So what I'm saying was, yeah, no. So the burning question is, how did you rank them? I went ahead and put Milkman into the third position, because while I didn't enjoy reading it, I got it, you know, what the author was trying to do. So I thought that was cool. And then the other two, I just put Incendiaries in fourth, because at least she didn't, you know, burn up a lot of my time with her short little book, and I did like the writing style. And then I put the Immortal List in fifth because it just didn't tick the boxes for me, and it, you know, it just, no. So yeah. Whew. But next round's looking good for Doris. So yay. Thanks so much for watching, and I will be back soon. Bye.